Good morning to Dr. Hassan as our lecturer for scientific inquiry. We are from Group 9 and we are going to present about our final report titled Tackling Malaysia's Poverty Crisis Amidst the COVID-19 Pandemic. In our final report, we are more focusing on the first Sustainable Development Goals, which is no poverty. Before we are going further to explain about our final report, first of all, my name is Aldrin Junior Daniel, and together with me that contribute to finish our final report is Muhammad Nabil, Umi Maisara, Muhammad Danish Hazik, Muhammad Shafiq, and Nur Shamimi. This is the report contents that we are going to present in our slide comprises of abstract, introduction, literature review, problem statement, research question, objective, hypothesis, significance of study, methodology, findings and discussion, and lastly is the conclusion. The first one is abstracts. Abstract serves as a whole summary of our final report. It contains purpose of study, methodology, finding, summary of discussion, or potential contribution to the society or economy. The first point is the study aims to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on vulnerable community or groups of society in Malaysia. This study employed mixed method approach, which is the qualitative and quantitative research techniques. The study found that COVID-19 pandemic led to shifting income group, with the middle income group known as M40 to the lower income group known as bottom income group B40. It is in our problem statement. The study found that the rate of poverty in Malaysia has increased due to the pandemics. Next, the study proposes effective solution for a comprehensive economic recovery. And lastly is the study concludes that the pandemic has created a high level of awareness of poverty and that the sustainable goal development, which is SDG 1, no poverty can be achieved. Next is introduction. In our introduction, we are going to explain about the brief background of the topic we have chosen and relating it to the component of the SDG, which is no poverty. Next is why this SDG caught our attention and our inquiry added value to the SDG, and the last one is the importance of the study. So the first point is the Sustainability Development Goals, a set of 17 global objectives established by the United Nations in 2015. They aim to achieve sustainable development by 2030 with goal 1 focusing on eliminating poverty for all people. Next point, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed vulnerable faced by millions of Malaysians who were already struggling to make ends meet. This situation makes it even more crucial to address poverty, which is SDG 1, in Malaysia as soon as possible. The third point, by combining quantitative and qualitative method, we can better understand how COVID-19 impacted poverty in Malaysia. This approach will aid in the development of strategies aligned with SDG 1 to effectively tackle the issue. The next point, our research project is centered around addressing Malaysia's poverty crisis during the COVID-19 pandemic. Through this study, we aim to provide valuable insights for evidence-based interventions and crisis preparedness. Fifth point, COVID-19 has made it necessary to adopt more inclusive poverty measurement methods like the Multidimensional Poverty Index (MPI) and Human Development Index (HDI) for the for sustainable recovery in vulnerable communities in Malaysia. Next, The crisis has intensified competition in poverty measurement efforts, leading us to explore alternative approaches like the MPI and HDI to achieve sustainable economic recovery for vulnerable communities in Malaysia. And the last point is our research investigation aims to explore the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on poverty in Malaysia. We will assess the effectiveness of government and charitable organizations through mixed method research and data collection from 50 respondents across different states. Next is the literature review. In our literature review, we are relating it to the problem statement and the articles that we are referring to. So, for the first one is the limitation of poverty line income measurement, which is PLI. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about significant economic consequences, resulting in job losses, reduced income, and disruption to supply chains. Unfortunately, these effects have not been evenly distributed among all groups. Certain demographic groups, such as women, ethnic minorities, and informal workers, have faced a disproportionate impact. Written by Arifin et al. Let's work together to understand and address these disparities. Next point is in response to the pandemic's adverse effects on poverty rates, government worldwide have implemented various social safety nets and assistance programs. These measures aim to provide support to vulnerable individuals and families during these challenging times. Cash assistance program and unemployment benefits have been put in place to help mitigate the financial struggles caused by the pandemic, written by Monica et al. It's crucial to continue monitoring and refining these policies to ensure their effectiveness. The third point, evaluating the effectiveness of the implemented policies is of paramount importance. To assess their impact on poverty rates, we need to analyze data, conduct studies, and take into account the experiences of those who directly benefit from this initiative. By rigorously evaluating these measures, we can identify areas of improvement and make informed decisions to better support those in need. It is written by Mahmoud Yu and Klesin at 2019. The last one is unemployment benefits have emerged as a lifeline for many households during the economic downturn caused by pandemic. By providing financial support to those who have lost their jobs, these benefits have played a pivotal role in preventing further financial distress and reducing poverty rates. This statement is written by Osberg at 2018. Recognizing their significance, it is crucial to ensure the continued availability and accessibility of these essential support systems. Next context is impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on poverty rates. The COVID-19 pandemic brought about severe economic consequences, including job losses, reduced income, and disruption to supply chains. However, these impacts were not evenly distributed across the population. Certain demographic groups, such as women, ethnic minorities, and informal workers, bore a disproportionate brunt of the hardship. Their vulnerabilities were accentuated by the pandemic effects on various sectors, leading to a widening economic divide. Next point, in response to the pandemic's negative effects on poverty rates, government worldwide implemented various policies and social safety nets. These measures aim to provide financial support and assistance to those most affected by the economic downturn. Cash assistance program and unemployment benefits were among the key initiatives designed to reduce the hardship faced by the vulnerable individuals and families during these trying times. Next point, evaluating the effectiveness of the implemented policies and social safety nets is of paramount importance. Through rigorous assessments and data analysis, policymakers can gauge the actual impact of these measures on poverty rates and their ability to address the challenges faced by specific demographic groups. This evaluation process plays a crucial role in refining existing policies and designing more targeted approaches to support those in need. Last point, during the economic downturn caused by the pandemic, unemployment benefits played a pivotal role in supporting households. These benefits offered financial assistance to individuals who lost their jobs, helping them meet their basic needs and sustain themselves during challenging times. By providing a safety net for those facing unemployment, these benefits contributed significantly to stabilizing households and mitigating the broader economic impact of the pandemic. The next main context is shifting income groups and the needs for urgent action. Income group shifts, as highlighted by Martin et al., are a critical concern that warrants immediate attention. The COVID-19 pandemic has intensified economic challenges, causing households to transition from M40 to B40. This phenomenon demands urgent action. Next, the research conducted by Jensen et al. Brings to light the possible long-term consequences of these income groups' shift on social and economic stability. If left unaddressed, it can lead to increased social disparities, hamper economic growth, and hinder the overall progress of the nation. Next point is to gain insight into effective strategies, we can turn to case studies conducted during economic crises in other countries. Rode, Tang, and Rao research in 2014 presents valuable lessons that can guide us in developing appropriate policies and intervention. The last point is by analyzing responses and outcomes from similar crises, we can devise strategies to mitigate the impact of income group shift on poverty in Malaysia. It is essential to focus on targeted support and inclusive policies to uplift affected, affected households. The last main context in our literature review is strategies for poverty reduction and recovery in the presence of COVID-19. The first point, targeted intervention and safety nets are essential in protecting vulnerable households during times of crisis. It is written by Department of Statistics Malaysia 2020 and also Chia et al. Second point, social welfare programs, unemployment benefits and cash transfer schemes play a crucial role in supporting low-income households, and it is written by Jensen et al. Third point, supporting job creation and income generation for marginalized groups can help break the cycle of poverty and reduce dependency on social welfare programs. Fourth point, this comprehensive literature review highlights the limitation of PLI, which is poverty aligned income, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on poverty rates, income group shift, and effective strategies for poverty reduction and recovery. By considering alternative poverty measurement approaches, implementing targeted intervention, and designing comprehensive social nets, policymakers can effectively combat poverty during the pandemic. And the last point, learning from past experience and adopting evidence-based strategies can promote sustainable and inclusive economic recovery and improve the well-being of vulnerable populations.
So the problem statement for our case study is the existing measurement of poverty through the poverty line income PLI faces a lot of limitation and does not reflect the current cost of living in many aspects of poverty. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic has made the low-income household even more at risk and danger, leading to the significant increase in poverty rates. The shifting of income group with a high number of households transitioning from the middle income group M40 to the bottom income group B40 show the urgent need to address the impact strategies to reduce poverty and promote recovery in the presence of COVID-19 disaster. By using quantitative and qualitative technique, it can give the actual data and views that can help with decision making and increase the effectiveness of poverty reduction efforts. So from the case study, we use three questions to evaluate the data that we want to get. So the first question we use is what steps can be taken to raise awareness about poverty issue in Malaysia to engage people reduce the poverty. The second is what are the impacts in which COVID-19 pandemic has affected household income in Malaysia. And next is, in your opinion, suggest what improvement or additional measures can the government implement to enhance the impact of their assistance programs and better support those affected by the poverty crisis. So next is the objective of doing this case study. So there are three objectives that we must achieve while doing this case study. The first one is to determine the level of awareness regarding the current poverty rate in Malaysia. Next is to examine the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on household income. And the last one is to evaluate the effectiveness of assistance provided by the government in easing poverty during the pandemic.
Okay, so for the hypothesis, for our research, the null hypothesis is the COVID-19 pandemic has significantly increased the poverty rate in Malaysia, leading to a high number of individuals living below the poverty line compared to pre-pandemic levels. For the alternative hypothesis, there is no significant increase in the poverty rate in Malaysia as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the number of individuals living below the poverty line remains relatively unchanged compared to pre-pandemic levels. Moving on to the significance, firstly, the study provides important insights into the impact of pandemic on poverty in Malaysia. Second, the study raises awareness of the ground realities faced by individuals and families struggling to meet their basic needs during the pandemic. Thirdly, the study identifies and explores potential strategies to reduce poverty during the crisis. And finally, the study empowers marginalized communities by giving them a platform to talk about their concerns and needs.
So now we move on to the methodology. So for the methodology, the research design, we apply mixed method which we are using both quantitative and also qualitative technique. And then the survey questionnaire was distributed via the Google form, which include three sections. And the first section, we are gathering the respondent demographic data, while the second section, we are focused on the data analysis through an closed-ended question, which we are utilizing a Likert scale and multiple choice option and also a checklist. And the third section, we seek respondent opinion and suggestion through an open-ended question, which we are aiming the adult respondent to explore the relationship between the poverty crisis and also COVID-19 pandemic. And then the sample area and size. So in this research, we are conducted to different states of origin in Malaysia. They include some from West Malaysia and also from East Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak. As the study focused on the relationship between the poverty and also COVID-19 pandemic, so the target age group for respondent is those above 20 years old and also below 50 years old. And the survey are distributed through an online platform such as WhatsApp and Telegram to reach a wider respondent. So the target sample size for the study is 50 respondents from all states in Malaysia. And also, we are including the respondent from a variety of states since it enables the study to take into consideration regional difference in resource availability, social support system, and also economic situation. For data collection, for the study is conducted using Google Forms since it provides a user-friendly and accessible platform for respondents to participate in our survey. So the form is divided into three sections to gather demographic, analyze the impact of COVID-19 on poverty crisis in Malaysia, and also collect respondent opinion and suggestion. So the questionnaire in section B comprise multiple choice question with a Likert scale and linear scale known as determinant choice. yes or no option, and checklist question to assess respondent perspective on the impact of COVID-19 on poverty crisis in Malaysia. And then in section C, it provides a qualitative dimension which allowing respondent to express their opinion and suggestion in deeper. Then, for the research instrument we use in this study is a structured questionnaire designed with Google Forms. So the first section gather demographic data, including age, gender, state of origin, current employment status, monthly household income, and also the highest level of education. So the second section also comprise 14 multiple choice questions, which divided into different parts where we are exploring the impact of COVID-19 on household income, government assistance and access to service, cost, cost of living and food insecurity, and also public awareness. So the third section, we allow respondents to give their opinion and also suggestion regarding tackling Malaysia's poverty amidst COVID-19 pandemic through an open-ended short answer question. And also, we are using the Google Scholar to find the article related to our topic in order to do our literature review.
Next, we move to finding and discussion, which is in this part we have three sections: Section A, demographic data; Section B, data analysis; and Section C, opinions and suggestion. So the first part in Section A, demographic data of gender. So this study was collected from 50 respondents, and the data shows an equal split between male and female respondent, which is 25 of each. So this equal representation of both gender provides a balanced viewpoint on their perspective. So through this can enables on how poverty problem and COVID-19 pandemic affect both genders. So by understanding gender specific difficulties, the policymakers can work towards a more resilient and fair society. Next on diagram 2, which is demographic data on the age range. So this study shows that the data is from their 20s and their 40s. So the age range provides a complete examination of perspective on poverty in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic at the various stages of life. So by understanding how people of ages are affected by poverty can aid the development of personalized efforts and policies to address the unique needs and difficulties. For instance, younger respondents' perspective on schooling and careers may provide insight into the challenges of young people trying to make their way in the world, while the perspective on older age groups may aid in comprehending difficulties of retires and pension. So, as a result of this, policymakers may devise more inclusive and robust the policies to combat the Malaysia poverty problem by researching this experience of all ages of group. Next, we move to the state of origin. So the data shows that the respondent came from a variety of Malaysian states. Sabah had the most responses, which is 30%, followed by Selangor and Perak. Other states with a high number also included Pahang, Sarawak, Negeri Sembilan, and Penang. Putrajaya and Malacca had the fewest response. So this distribution reflects the Malaysia population diversity. It also illustrates that poverty in Malaysia is not exclusive to a particular state. It demonstrates that this is a national issue that impacts people from all walks of life. This is crucial to remember while planning the poverty reduction initiative and projects. We move to the status of employment, which is it shows that there's a wide range of occupation. The majority of respondents, 46%, are full-time employees, followed by students. The survey also includes part-time workers, housewives, self-employed, and also the unemployed. This distribution of job status appropriately reflects the diversity of Malaysia workforce. This is because poverty is not confined to the people who are unemployed or underemployment. It can also affect people who work full-time. As a result of this, it is possible to examine perspective from people at various levels of their career and economic activities. We move to demographic data, monthly household income. So the data shows that the majority of respondents earn between 2,000 and 5,000 ringgit, which is correspond to Malaysia lower middle income category. The data suggests that there is a significant portion of the respondent may be struggling to get the basic needs of life such as food and healthcare. The data also showed that there's a least number of respondents, 10%, in the upper income category. This suggests that there is a significant gap between rich and the poor community in Malaysia. The gap may be as the result of rising living costs, which may have made that more difficult for people to make it ends meet. The finding of this study suggests that Malaysia government must to take a measure to eliminate the poverty in order that everyone has the opportunity to rise beyond the poverty and live a decent life. Next, we move to the high level of education. And based on this data, it shows that majority of respondents holds the bachelor degree, which is 40%, followed by diploma and the skill certificate. So the distribution of the educational level is important because it allows us to see how poverty affects people with different level of education. For example, the fact that majority of respondents have the bachelor degree, it suggests that the poverty is not a problem within the low level education. It also affects those who have achieved a high level education. So the data suggests that people of high level education may have the better understanding of the causes and effect of poverty. So as a result of that, the government should consider educational level of population when developing policies to combat the poverty.
Then for finding and discussion, section B data analysis. In diagram 1, we are asking respondent on how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected their household income. So according to the data, we can see that Malaysia's family income has been significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The economic downturn, job losses, and also company closure are some of the cause of this factor. And then you can see the large number of respondents who indicate that there were neutral implies that the pandemic effect on household income has been uneven. And depending on their industry, career, and also region, some households may have been more impacted than others. The data also hints that the pandemic effect on household income will probably last for a while. And then for diagram 2, COVID-19 pandemic effect on employment. So job losses and also reduced working hours among the survey participants. So according to the pie chart, we can see that 48% of respondents have their working hours shortened or their job eliminated as the result of the epidemic. This statistic is noteworthy and indicates that the epidemic has significantly impacted the Malaysian labour force. The large percentage of respondents who report having the loss their job or had their hours decreased is probably as a result of the variety of things, including economy downturn, company closure, and also travel restriction. So according to the ambiguous replies, some respondents appear to still be confused with their working hours, and this raises concerns since it may indicate that the unemployment in Malaysia is increasing. Then, for diagram 3, we are asking respondent awareness regarding the current poverty rate in Malaysia. So, according to the diagram 3, we can see that 76% of respondents are aware of Malaysia's current poverty rate. So, this is a promising discovery since it shows that most Malaysians are aware of the problem of poverty in the nation. And the high percentage of respondents who know the poverty rate is probably a result of a number of things, including media coverage of the problem, government program to increase the public awareness poverty, and also respondents on experience. But there are still some Malaysians who are not aware of the issue, as seen by the 6% of respondents who are not aware of the poverty rate, and also the 18 of respondents who are unclear of the poverty rate. Then for diagram 4, we are asking respondent on the financial aid and assistance from the government or charitable organization. So according to the diagram 4, we can see that 58% of the respondents they are receiving financial aid or help from the government or non-profit organization. And this is a large amount and it shows that the government and charity organization are supporting those who are poor significantly. A variety of variables, including the COVID-19 pandemic, which significantly impact the household income and the government initiative to fight the poverty. And the data also hints that there is still some effort need to assist those who are still struggling financially during the pandemic. and people living in poverty should continue to receive financial help and also support from the government and charitable organization so they can improve their quality of life.
In this section, we'll be discussing the type of support that respondents receive. So according to diagram 5, 38% of respondents got their financial support. Food aid and vouchers were obtained by 26% of respondents, which is highlighting the need of basic sources. So data shows that the financial support was the most common type of support that received by respondents. This is because likely due to the fact that financial hardship was a major challenge for many people during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the data also shows that food aid and also healthcare subsidies was also important of support. This is because of this type of support can help to meet the basic needs and ensure that people have the access to essential services. Next, we move to the how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the respondents' ability to access the healthcare services. So, based on the chart above, 50 respondents, the majority of the respondents, 21, give the moderate effects of rating, suggesting that they saw a significant shift in their ability to get the medical care, whereas 11 reported less significant impact on them. So the data shows that the pandemic had a variety of consequence on the healthcare accessibility. Some people had the difficulty in getting the essential medical, while others saw um, little improvement. So these various experiences may be influenced by the pandemic interruption, such as overload healthcare facilities and virus exposure fear. Therefore, the data shows that this is a serious concern, which means that some people may have been unable to get the medical care that need during the time of the crisis. Next, we move to respondent responses to whether they face difficulty in accessing education or educational resources for themselves or their children during the pandemic. So, based on diagram above, it shows that 58% claim to have trouble getting access to either schooling or educational resources, while 34% of respondents claim that they did not experience these difficulties. The data shows the large number of respondents reported difficulties in accessing their schooling or education material, which shows that it is a serious concern, which is mean that some children may have been unable to continue their education during the time crisis. This is possible reason for difficulty in accessing is because of lack of proper technology such as computer or tablets, or maybe financial hardship, which is made it difficult for families to afford educational materials. Therefore, the data shows that the pandemic had a significant impact on access to education, which shows it serious concern for many students and children, which is they have unable to continue their education during this time crisis. So the policymakers should place a high priority or initiative to close the digital gap and provide fair access to high quality education. Next, we will be discussing the factors that respondents believe to have the most significant impact on the poverty crisis in Malaysia during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, 44 of the 50 respondents named loss of employment opportunities as a key contributor to the issue. This demonstrates that the tremendous impact job loss and economic disruption have had on the people and household financial well-being. Additionally, rising living costs was cited as a significant contributing due to the budget may have already been tight due to rising costs for necessity, especially for those who are already struggling financially. Finally, the typical respondent named lack of access to quality education. This emphasized the value of education in ending the cycle of poverty. These factors have all had negative impact on the financial well-being of individual and the household, making it more difficult for them to meet their basic needs.
For diagram number 9, the questions that were asked is how the respondents' cost of living has been affected during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can see from the bar chart that 40% have selected a neutral influence. This suggests that they may have been able to maintain their pre-pandemic living standards with minimal changes in expenses. And it is seen that 20% of the respondents have selected a decrease in their cost of living. This could be attributed to the economic downturn-related changes. Understanding these distinct responses may help policymakers in designing effective solutions to satisfy the challenge faced by the community. For diagram number 10, the questions asked were whether they encountered any issues related to food insecurity for themselves or their households during pandemic. So a majority, which is 34% of the respondents, having trouble getting sufficient nutrition for themselves or their home throughout the epidemic. This shows how significant the COVID-19 pandemic have impacted Malaysia's food security. A variety of the causes is economic slowdown, job losses and business closures are likely to be blamed for the high percentage of respondents who reported having experienced food insecurity. It is feasible that some of these respondents may go through period of food insecurity, and as a result, this raise concerns since it may indicate that Malaysia's food insecurity is increasing. For diagram 11, the questions asked is respondents' response regarding an increase in cost of essential goods and services during the pandemic. So, from the pie chart, we can observe that 86% of respondents observed an increase in the cost of necessities, 8% of the respondents claimed to have seen no growth, and 6% of the respondents were unclear of the situation. Thus, the majority of people have probably felt the effects of inflation and increased cost of necessities throughout the epidemic. The budgets for households may become even more strained as expenses rises, especially for those who are already struggling financially due to Malaysia's poverty issue. And for diagram 12, the questions asked is the effectiveness of government's effort in addressing poverty during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the majority of respondents, which is 28, have no clear opinion on the effectiveness of the government's effort to combat poverty. This shows that they are unsure or lack adequate knowledge to evaluate the effectiveness of the government's activities. And from the bar chart also, we can observe three respondents strongly disagree that the government efforts have been effective. They believe that the government had not done enough to help the poor, and another three respondents strongly agreed, which the government had made a significant differences in their lives of the poor.
So the next part we are going to review data analysis for diagram 13 and diagram 14. Diagram 13, the question is about the necessity of implementing sufficient measures to mitigate future poverty crisis in similar circumstances. So from the question and the data, we conclude that most of respondents strongly agree with this viewpoint. The need to take early measures to reduce poverty during crisis is shown by this strong backing. To effectively address poverty in the face of future crises like the COVID-19, it will be important to consider the role of government, NGOs, and communities. So for the diagram 14, it is about the public's awareness and involvement in poverty alleviation. Effort need to be increased. So from the data, we conclude that respondent firmly believe that in order to properly address Malaysia's poverty issue in the face of the COVID-19 epidemic, public awareness must be increased. The strong consensus highlight the need of developing awareness campaign and encouraging public participation into propel effective poverty reduction measures.
So now for finding and discussion, section C, respondent opinion and suggestion about Malaysia poverty crisis during pandemic COVID-19. So for this uh, section, we are asking the respondent to give their suggestion and also opinion about the question that we are give. So the first question is what the respondent thinks should be the top priority in addressing Malaysia poverty crisis amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So the first suggestion is strengthening and expanding social safety net program, which this will provide immediate relief and help to cope with the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second suggestion is implementing price control on essential goods.
So this one will help to stabilize price and make essential goods more affordable. And then the third point is empowering local community and involving them in poverty alleviation effort, which one this will help to build community resilience and also ensure that everyone has a voice in the fight against poverty. And the last one is providing targeted financial assistance, which this will help to ensure that everyone has resources they need to survive and rebuild their life. And then for the second question, we are asking on how can community, organization, and also individual contribute to tackling the poverty crisis in Malaysia. And we are asking the respondent to share about the idea. So the first idea is targeted assistance. So this is to ensure that they receive appropriate aid such as financial support and also food donation. And then the second one is collaboration, which is individual and also business, especially the wealthy, should contribute to helping the poor and also creating more job opportunities, supporting locals, business, and promoting domestic spending are essential for economic recovery. And the last one is community-based support program, which is the community support-based program is an educational support and also collaboration with the local government.
In this section C, we will discuss the initiative and strategy that respondents suggested to prevent future poverty crisis in Malaysia. So the respondents suggested a number of initiatives and strategies, including the first one, creating more job opportunities, including online and gig economy jobs. This will provide alternative avenues for income generation and help to reduce the poverty. Part of that, we have investing in education and sustainable development. This will help to build human capital and empower individuals to escape the cycle of poverty. And lastly, encouraging savings, increase wages, and expanding access to financial services. This will promote financial inclusion and enhance economic resilience for low-income households. The suggestion highlight the importance of preparedness and addressing poverty and its impact during the crisis in Malaysia. They also recognize the multifaceted nature of poverty and the need for the comprehensive approach to addressing it. Lastly, for section C, the improvement and additional measure the respondent suggested for the government to enhance the impact of the assistance program. So the respondent suggested a number of improvements, including the provide subsidies for essential goods. This will help to ensure the vulnerable groups have the access to basic necessities. Next is better communication and collaboration with NGO. So this will help to ensure that the assistance is reaching to those who need it the most and that it's being used effectively. And lastly, strengthening the social safety nets. This will provide a safety net for vulnerable population during the times of economic hardship. So the suggestion recognizes the importance of the targeted support, efficient implementation, and a long-term vision. Therefore, by adopting this suggestion, the policymakers can help to build a more resilient and inclusive society that is better equipped with the withstand the challenges of the future.
So, in conclusion, the COVID-19 pandemic has a significant impact on poverty in Malaysia, with many people experiencing job losses or reduced working hours. And the financial aid from the government and charitable organizations has played a crucial role in supporting communities during the crisis. A specific vulnerable group, such as those facing difficulties in accessing education, healthcare, and sufficient nutritious food, have been particularly affected by the pandemic. The study also has highlighted that the immediate action that need to be taken to address the poverty crisis in Malaysia, such as job creation, social safety net programs, and support for vulnerable groups. And the study has contributed to global effort to eradicate poverty and encourage a more resilient and equitable society in Malaysia. For the next part is a limitation and recommendations for a future research. For limitation, the first one is the study was limited by its sample size and the use of online platform to collect data. Second one, the study also relied on respondents' memories of events during the pandemic, which could have introduced bias. The third one, the study did not establish a clear cause and effect relationship between the pandemic and poverty rates. The fourth one, The study was conducted in English, which may have excluded some respondents who did not speak English fluently. For the next one, some respondents did not complete all of the questions in the survey, which could have affected the completeness of the data. And the last one is the study used a mixed method approach, which can be a complex and difficult to integrate effectively. And for the recommendation, the first one is to increase the sample size and use random sampling method. Second one, use a variety of data collection methods, including qualitative interviews. The third one is to ask a mix of closed-ended and open-ended questions. The fourth one is to translate the questionnaire into Malay. And the next one is use statistical analysis to identify correlation between variables. And the next one is to ensure the completeness, validation measures, and data cleaning. And for the last one is to widen the scope of policies to be considered. So that is all from us from Group 9. Thank you.